Back for our very last example in section 6.3. We're going to do example 4 today. We're actually going to classify polynomials. And so you're probably like, oh, wait a second. We actually have to know some terminology, some names. Yes. The reason is a lot of our textbook makers and our test makers, when they talk about a polynomial, they do get pretty specific. It's really determined on the degree and how many terms there are. And that's how, a lot of times they refer to them that way. And so I just want to make sure I teach this and I'm very thorough with you. Okay, you have a chart up here. This chart is very, very handy. Okay? You're going to be classifying using 2 terms to classify your polynomials. The first term is based on the degree of the polynomial, and you will be able to give a name for that based on just the degree of the polynomial. Remember, we found the degree of polynomials in example 2. So if you don't remember how to find that degree, go back to that video or go back to your notes and review that real quick. Just pause me, okay? The second word or second term is going to come from, well, how many terms are there in the polynomial? And however many there are, well, they have a particular name, possibly a special name here, okay? So let's go through the list here. Here it is. If your polynomial has a degree of 0, then we just call that constant. What that means is if it has a degree of 0, that means it's just a simple constant number. It's not got any variables. It's just a constant number, a single number. And that's why it's called constant. So hopefully that's not a big stretch, okay? If for some reason your biggest degree is a 1, that's a linear. We've been doing linear equations, golly, from like November through January. We did linear equations, and all those exponents on those variables were all 1s. And so that's what we call linear. We will get into this a little bit later. If your biggest exponent is a 2, then we consider that a quadratic. Quadratics are just nothing more than parabolas. That's all they are. We'll get to those later this semester. Don't worry about those just yet. If your biggest exponent is a 3, then we will call it a cubic. That's what it's called, cubic. If it's a 4, quartic. 5 is quintic. And then when you get to 6 on up, then it's just real basic. It's 6th degree, 7th degree, 8th degree, 9th degree, 10th degree, 11th degree, depending on the number of your highest degree. Once you pass 6, there's no special names. 0 through 5 have all the special names, okay? Your other term is going to come from, well, how many terms are there? So if you just have the 1 term, then it's a monomial, because mono means 1. If you have 2 terms, then we call those binomials, because bi means 2. Like a bicycle has 2 tires. Bipedals, that's what human beings are. We have 2 legs, okay? Binomials have 2 terms. If you have 3 terms, that's a trinomial. Tri means 3, like a triangle, okay? Tri means 3. 4 or more terms, we just revert back to the general term polynomial. Polynomial. Poly means many, okay? So remember, mono means 1 term. Bi means 2 terms. Tri means 3 terms. 4 or more terms is a poly or polynomial. Okay, so now let's get ready to classify here. We're going to classify each polynomial according to its degree and number of terms. So let's start with letter A, and I'm going to first start with identifying the degree of the polynomial. Well, to do that, you've got to find each individual monomial. So this monomial has a degree of 1, and this monomial has a degree of 0. That means the polynomial degree is 1. So the degree is 1. And the number of terms, remember, terms are discovered by counting all the numbers that are separated by addition and subtraction signs. So I've got, here's a term, here's a term. There are 2 terms here. Okay, so now we have enough information. We can actually go back to our list above and classify this polynomial. So degree of 1. So here we go. Here's a degree of 1. That means it's linear. So this is a linear, and a linear what? We have to look at the number of terms. There are 2 terms. Oh, 2 terms is a binomial. So this particular polynomial is specifically known as a linear binomial. Linear because its degree is 1, and binomial because there are 2 terms. All right, let's look at letter B. Now, I bet we can probably take a little bit of a shortcut. Can you tell me, looking at that 3-term polynomial, what the highest degree is? I hope you can see it. You're focusing in on the exponents on those variables. So yes, if you said, oh, I think the degree is 2, you're exactly right. The biggest exponent out there on a variable is a 2, and that is the degree of that polynomial. Well, how many terms are there? Yep, if you said, hey, I think I see 3 terms here, you're exactly right. Here's 1, and here's your 3rd one. There are 3 terms. So let's use our chart. A second degree. Okay, second degree. Oh, looky there. That's a quadratic. So this is going to be a quadratic. And then number of terms, 3. So we'll go to our second chart here. 3 means trinomial. This is a quadratic trinomial. Quadratic because my highest degree is a 2. Trinomial because there are 3 terms here. Great job. Okay, I'm going to cut out some of the writing from here on out. I was writing just so you could see what I'm looking at and how I'm getting it. Now I'm going to try and cut this out a little bit. Look at letter C. What's your highest degree? In other words, what's the biggest exponent that's on the x that you can see? Okay, it's a 7. All right, now let's look at the degree. 7 degree. Oh, that doesn't have a special name, so we just call it a 7th degree. And then how many terms do you see there? I see 1, 2, 3. I see 4 terms. Now come over here to the second chart to the right. 4 terms is, we just call that in general a polynomial. So this is a 7th degree polynomial. All right, so a little less writing, more consulting of the chart, okay? Let's look at letter D. Again, what's the biggest exponent on your x's there? The only variable there is x, so just choose the largest exponent. Okay, 3. I see that. I agree with you. 3 is cubic. So that's the degree. It's a cubic degree. And then how many terms do you see there? Yep, I see 4 terms. So this would be a polynomial. This is a cubic polynomial. So you're basically working left to right. First find the degree, use your left chart, then find your number of terms and use your right chart. That's your pattern. Go back and forth, left to right. All right, let's look at letter E. 6, okay, there's no variable there. What are all constant numbers degree? You're right. If you think it's 0, you're exactly right. So go to your degree chart. 0 degree means it's a constant. And then let's take a look. I only see 1 term there. 1 term is a monomial. This is a constant monomial. Good job. You guys are doing a great job. I hope you're tracking me. If not, bring your questions to class and we'll keep practicing, okay? All right, letter F, last but not least. Let's take a look. What's your biggest degree? Yep, if you said 8, you're exactly right. That's not really, there's no special name for 8, so we'll just call it an 8th degree. All right, and then how many terms do you see there? I see 3 terms, and that's a trinomial. So this is an 8th degree trinomial. So probably the hardest thing to remember are these special names for the degrees. Once you get past quadratic, it probably won't really sink in that cubic is 3, quartic is 4, and quintic is 5. Just do the best you can. The more we work with it, I think the easier it'll get. So if you have questions, bring those to class tomorrow, and thank you for listening.